"Look at you, Lauren," Eric said with a coldness that cut like a blade. "You're fat, washed up, boring. You look nothing like that beautiful, brilliant woman I met 12 years ago. It was inevitable that I'd fall in love with Savannah. She's beautiful, intelligent, elegant, and young." Lauren's world collapsed. She felt as if the ground had been ripped out from under her feet. Her legs failed and she slowly slid down the kitchen wall until she was sitting on the cold floor, her hand instinctively going to her chest as if she could hold together the pieces of her shattering heart. Have you ever felt like this with some news? Have you ever felt the pain of betrayal? For Lauren, it felt like she had just been stabbed directly in the heart. How was the man she had loved most in life standing there in front of her, destroying her with such naturalness? Besides cheating on me, he still has the nerve to blame me? The thought echoed in her stunned mind. Eric, seeing Lauren on the floor in complete shock, showed not an ounce of remorse. On the contrary, he continued his meticulous humiliation. "Lauren, look at you, look at us." He gestured between them both with disdain. "I studied at the best college, got my graduate degree, got my job at the bank." Lauren began to get up, still dazed, leaning against the wall as if she were inside a nightmare. Her legs trembled, but something inside her was beginning to awaken. While Eric continued his cruel speech, she murmured weakly, "That's enough." But he spoke over her voice as if he hadn't even heard her. "What did you do, Lauren? Where are your diplomas? Where are your career years? I had to achieve everything alone while carrying you on my back. Enough." Lauren exploded, her voice echoing off the walls of the house. Eric stopped, surprised by the intensity of the scream. "You want to know where my diplomas are? Where my career years are?" Lauren gestured to the entire house around her. "They're right here. I dedicated years to you. I supported you while you achieved your things. You asked me to quit my career because you wanted to come home and find your wife here taking care of your children. Or have you forgotten that?" Her voice grew in strength and conviction. "I took care of the children you had outside of marriage. I may have accepted that back then because I was naive, believed your lies, but this time I won't forgive you." Eric was speechless. In so many years of being used to trampling on Lauren, he had never seen her react that way. She was no longer the poor woman who always accepted everything silently and then went upstairs to cry in the bedroom. There was something different in her look now, something that made him instinctively back away. Hatred. Pain and hatred was what was in Lauren's eyes. "I want you to leave right now," she said, her voice low but loaded with an authority he had never heard before. "Pack your things and leave." "Are you crazy?" Eric quickly composed himself, returning to his usual arrogance. "I bought this house with my money. If anyone has to leave, it should be you." Lauren looked down for a moment, then looked around the house that had been her world for so many years, finally fixing her gaze on Eric with a frightening calm. "Fine," she said. "Fine?" he repeated without understanding, as he expected fighting, crying and drama. "Yes, fine," Lauren said, and as she walked toward him with firm steps, her voice gained a prophetic tone that made Eric feel a chill down his spine. "I'm going to pack my things and disappear from your life, Eric. But I guarantee you'll regret this. Maybe today I have nothing but the clothes on my back, but one day I'll have much more than you've achieved in years." Lauren went upstairs with a dignity that surprised them both. She took a carry-on bag, chose some essential clothes from the closet and also kept some notebooks where she made her personal notes. Eric stood in the living room, watching her in total disbelief, still not believing that Lauren was really leaving. When she came down the stairs for the last time, suitcase in hand, she looked at him once more and walked out the door without saying a word. Eric, seeing that Lauren was really leaving, went after her, and when she was already starting the car, he shouted, "The car is mine too, Lauren." Lauren just gave Eric the middle finger and drove off, leaving tire marks on the ground and seeing Eric being left behind in the car's rearview mirror. Lauren parked the car on the side of the road, her hands shaking as she turned off the engine. The euphoria of the confrontation instantly disappeared, replaced by a raw and devastating reality. She lowered her head onto the steering wheel and let the tears come. Lauren cried so much that she even sobbed. They were tears that carried 12 years of accumulated pain, swallowed humiliations, buried dreams. Between the sobs, memories invaded her like a flood. Lauren remembered her time in economics college. She was really dazzling back then, one of the brightest students in the class, with a smile that lit up any room. Eric wasn't the most handsome, but he had a magnetic charm that left her completely enchanted. When they started dating, he was so gentle, so caring, so romantic. He made her feel like she was the only woman in the world. She always helped him with college activities, explaining complex concepts with infinite patience. And Eric? Eric always took the credit as if he had done everything alone. That's when I should have noticed how arrogant he was, Lauren thought, wiping her tear-soaked face. After marriage, the changes began subtle, almost imperceptible. Like drops of water that fall slowly, but that, over time, fill the bucket until it overflows. "Don't wear so much makeup, you don't need it," Eric would say with an apparently caring smile. "This food is horrible. Didn't you tell me you knew how to cook?" He would criticize, always in a joking tone, but it was evident that he was mocking Lauren, and this left her deeply upset. Gradually, Lauren stopped wearing makeup. She put her earrings away in the back of the drawer. Her clothes, which once enhanced every curve of her body, were replaced by dull, lifeless pieces. To Lauren, Eric just loved her more natural, as he said. But then she discovered his social media. Hundreds of beautiful women. Stunning models, perfectly made up and styled. The complete opposite of what he said he preferred in her. When questioned, Eric always had an answer ready: "You're crazy. It's just social media. You're very insecure." And Lauren gradually started believing. She convinced herself that she really was being too jealous. Those small actions of Eric, apparently harmless, were corroding Lauren's self-esteem like acid. And you know what happens when you stop seeing value in yourself? When you start to see only your flaws. You begin to believe that you deserve to be mistreated. You start to think that person is right to criticize you so much. You start to feel unworthy of receiving love, or worse, you start to believe that this is love. And that was exactly how Lauren had been feeling for years. Maybe you're wondering, if Lauren was so beautiful, intelligent, and promising, why did she subject herself to living with a person like that? Have you heard the saying, "Constant dripping wears away the stone"? The things Eric said to Lauren seemed extremely hostile, and they were. But when you hear the same things every day, it seems like you get used to it. Suddenly, the words that might have seemed too cruel before became so common that Lauren didn't doubt Eric's love when she heard them. She doubted herself. The things we accept when we doubt ourselves can be terrible. For Lauren, the cruelest things she had to accept were Eric's 2 children born outside the relationship. The first happened when they were still dating, but Lauren only found out after they were married. It had been with a cheerleader. Lauren was devastated, but Eric explained that he was very young and confused about his feelings. Amber was the cheerleader who, according to him, kept hitting on him. He couldn't resist. It was an accident. It happened. The second child was conceived while Lauren was sick. Eric thought it was better for her to stay at her mother's house while she recovered because, according to him, because of work he couldn't give her the attention she needed. In the meantime, he felt lonely and ended up slipping up. That's how he put it. "My God, how could I have accepted this for so long?" Lauren thought as she furiously wiped the tears from her face. Eric had convinced Lauren that these betrayals were her fault. Lauren ended up forgiving because she was too young to understand what Eric was doing to her psychologically. Later, he convinced her to quit her job at an accounting company where she had a good salary and a promising future. According to him, he was already earning enough at the bank to support them both, and he would like his children to spend more time with him. Instead of a weekend, the children would stay for 15 days, and it would be good to have Lauren as a mother to take care of them. Lauren ended up accepting. At the time, she blamed herself for still not being able to get pregnant, so she thought she could make up for it by being a good stepmother. "It wasn't my fault," Lauren repeated to herself inside the car, her voice gaining strength with each word. "It wasn't my fault." She repeated as if she were lifting a ton of weight off her back. "Wait a minute. Am I free?" A realization began to take shape in her mind. I'm free. It was as if she had just regained consciousness and realized that, after years of a failed relationship, if anyone had lost something there, it wasn't her. Gradually, the tears were replaced by a smile of relief. The pain dissipated like mist in the sun. She started the car and went back to driving, finally appreciating the landscape that stretched before her. She drove still without a destination, but for the first time in years this didn't scare her. She began to realize that she would never again have to live with the man who, day after day, insulted her and who couldn't see her happy without making some malicious comment to make her sad. It was as if Lauren had felt that life was giving her an opportunity to finally be happy. For the first time in 12 years, the future didn't seem like a sentence. It seemed like a promise. Lauren arrived in a small town in the countryside when the sun was already beginning to set. She decided to stay a few nights at a hostel until she cooled her head and decided what she would do from there. The town had a welcoming air that she hadn't felt in years, the kind of place where people still greeted each other on the street and where time seemed to pass more slowly. She stopped at a small market to buy some fruit and supplies for a few days. The establishment smelled of fresh bread and had that familiar atmosphere that large supermarkets can never reproduce. While paying for her purchases, Lauren felt a strange lightness, as if each simple act, choosing an apple, paying with her own money, deciding what to eat, was a small declaration of independence. As soon as she left the market, swinging the paper bag on her arm, she spotted a huge sign across the street. It was a lottery shop, and the sign screamed in bold letters, "Today could be your lucky day. $80 million drawing on Wednesday." Today really could be my lucky day, Lauren thought, an ironic smile forming on her lips as she crossed the street toward the lottery shop. After so many years of bad luck, maybe the universe owed her one. When she entered, she found a young brunette girl radiating sympathy organizing tickets behind the counter. Her eyes sparkled with contagious energy that made Lauren feel immediately welcome. "Hi. Can I buy a ticket?" Lauren asked. "Wow," the girl exclaimed, her eyes widening. "You must be really lucky. This is the last ticket in the series and it's yours now." "I'm starting to believe that," Lauren said, a hint of genuine hope coloring her voice for the first time in a long time. "What's your name?" "I've never seen you around here," said the girl, curious but not invasive. "Oh, I'm just passing through. My name is Lauren. And yours?" "I've never met anyone who vacationed in this town," the girl laughed, a crystalline laugh that echoed through the shop. "My name is Catherine, but you can call me Kath." "Nice to meet you, Kath," Lauren said, feeling that it had been a long time since she'd had such a naturally pleasant conversation. "Shouldn't you be in college at this hour?" she asked, intrigued by the girl's cheerfulness. Kath's smile disappeared, and Lauren immediately realized she had touched on a sensitive point. "Oh, Mrs. Lauren, I don't go to college. My parents don't have money to pay for it and I'm not smart enough to get a scholarship," said Kath, her demeanor changing completely, deep sadness taking the place of her previous joy. Lauren felt something stir inside her chest, a familiar pain, a recognition that came from a very intimate place. "Who told you that?" she asked, her voice gaining protective intensity. "Who said you're not smart enough?" "Well," Kath lowered her eyes, nervously playing with a pen, "my ex-boyfriend Bill always said that. That college isn't for people like us." Lauren felt a familiar wave of indignation rise in her chest. How many times had she heard variations of that same phrase? How many times had Eric used similar words to diminish her, to make her believe she didn't deserve more than she had? "Kath," Lauren said, her voice loaded with a conviction that surprised even herself, "if I win this prize I'm going to pay for your college and you're going to rub your diploma in that Bill's face." Kath laughed, a mixture of surprise and disbelief, but Lauren could see a spark of hope lighting up in her eyes. "Mrs. Lauren, you're very kind, but—" "No buts," Lauren interrupted, carefully putting the ticket in her wallet. "Sometimes life gives us a second chance. And when that happens we have to reach out to help other people find theirs too." Lauren then said goodbye and went to the hostel where she would stay. The room was a simple but clean little cottage, with a single bed and a window that faced the main street. For the first time in years, Lauren fell asleep without the knot in her stomach that accompanied her every night. She woke up the next day with her cell phone vibrating incessantly on the bedside table. Dozens of messages from Eric filled the screen. At first, they were apparently carrying messages full of false good intentions. "Where are you? Is everything okay? When are you coming back? We need to talk." But as the hours passed without Lauren responding, the messages changed drastically in tone, revealing Eric's true face. "You better show up soon or I'll call the police and say you stole my car, you crazy woman." Lauren looked at the messages and, for the first time, instead of feeling fear or guilt, she felt only a deep sense of relief. She didn't need to respond anymore. She didn't need to explain herself anymore. She didn't need to live on edge anymore, trying to avoid his next explosion of anger. She turned off her cell phone and put it in the drawer. Today she no longer belonged to Eric Hayes' world. Hey, if you're enjoying this story, subscribe to the channel. And I'm sure what's going to happen from here on with our Lauren deserves your like. Lauren turned on the TV and immediately found a local town channel. To her surprise, an animated presenter was announcing, "And in just 15 minutes we'll have today's Mega Million drawing. $80 million could change someone's life tonight." "Oh my God, the drawing is today," Lauren said to herself, getting up hastily to get the ticket from her wallet. Her hands trembled slightly when she held the small piece of paper she had bought on impulse. She sat on the edge of the bed, her heart beating faster with each number drawn. First number, 07. She checked. Was there. Second, 14. She had it too. Third, 23. Lauren felt her breath fail. Fourth, 31. Fifth, 42. And finally the sixth, 49. For a moment the world stopped completely. Lauren looked at the ticket, then at the TV, then back at the ticket. The numbers danced before her eyes while reality refused to settle in her mind. $80 million, the presenter shouted cheerfully on television. Lauren fell to her knees on the bedroom floor, the ticket trembling in her hands. First came shock, then disbelief, and finally hysterical laughter that echoed through the thin walls of the hostel. 3 days later, Lauren was back at the lottery shop, but this time accompanied by lawyers and lottery representatives. The redemption process was discreet and efficient. When everything was resolved, she asked to speak with Kath alone. "Kath, dear," Lauren said, handing an envelope to the young woman who had helped her. "Here's enough for your college, housing, books, and everything else you'll need for the next 4 years." Kath opened the envelope and almost fainted when she saw the amount. "Mrs. Lauren, I can't accept this." "Yes, you can," Lauren smiled, placing her hands on the girl's shoulders. "And when you graduate, I want you to do one thing for me. Tell Bill to go to hell, dear." That night, back at the hostel, Lauren's cell phone rang for the 100th time. Finally she answered. "Lauren, where the hell are you?" Eric's voice exploded from the speaker. "Hi Eric," she said with frightening calm. "You're coming back right now. This nonsense has gone on long enough. You can't just go around like a rebellious teenager." "Actually I can," Lauren replied. "And that's exactly what I'm doing." "Have you lost your mind? Without me you're nothing. You have no money, no career, nothing." "You're right, Eric. I really don't have anything, from our past. And you know what? I've never felt so free." "Lauren, stop this nonsense and come home." "There's no more home for me there, Eric. By the way, your car is in Millbrook Springs, parked in front of the Cedar Inn hostel. The keys are on top of the right front wheel. You can go get it." "Millbrook Springs? What the hell is that? Lauren, you can't just..." Lauren hung up the phone while Eric was still talking. She looked at the device for a moment, then threw it on the floor and stepped on it repeatedly until the screen completely shattered. "I don't want to take anything from my past," she murmured to herself, feeling an immense weight lift off her shoulders. She picked up her carry-on bag and went down to the hostel reception. "Could you call a taxi for me, please? I need to go to the airport." "Of course, ma'am." "Where are you traveling to?" asked the friendly receptionist. Lauren stopped for a moment. Where to go? The whole world was open before her now. Her eyes landed on a travel magazine abandoned on the reception counter. On the cover, a stunning photo of Tuscany, with its golden hills and vineyards that disappeared into the horizon. "Italy," she said, surprised by her own decision. "I'm going to Italy." When the taxi arrived, Lauren got in without looking back. Through the window, she saw the town's lights disappear into the darkness, taking with them the last traces of the woman she used to be. At the airport, while waiting for her flight, Lauren bought a small mirror at a convenience store. When she looked at herself in it, she saw something she hadn't seen in years: hope. And for the first time in more than a decade, she smiled at her own reflection. Lauren Miller's new life was just beginning. 2 years later. Lauren adjusted her Chanel sunglasses as she walked through the reception of the Beverly Hills Grand Hotel, her Louboutin heels echoing on the polished marble. At 38, she was unrecognizable from the woman who had left home crying 2 years ago. Her brown hair now had golden highlights that shone under the chandelier lights, her body was sculpted by years of Pilates and walks through Tuscan vineyards, and her skin had that golden glow of someone who lived under the Mediterranean sun. The divorce had been finalized a year ago through a power of attorney that her mother signed on her behalf in Chicago, ensuring that Lauren would never have to see Eric Hayes' face again. She had preferred to pay the best lawyers rather than have to be in the same room as that man. "Sei bellissima," murmured Lorenzo Benedetti beside her, his voice laden with the Italian accent that still made Lauren's heart race even after 8 months of marriage. He looked stunning in his tailored Italian suit, his dark eyes shining with adoration as he watched his wife. Lauren smiled, remembering the day she met him at a winery in Tuscany. She was tasting a Chianti when Lorenzo appeared tall, dark, with that smile that melted glaciers. He owned one of the largest wineries in Italy, and his fortune made Lauren's 80 million look like pocket change. But more important than that, Lorenzo treated her like a queen. "You compliment me too much," she replied in fluent Italian, a language she had learned during her lazy afternoons in Florence. "Impossible. There's no compliment enough for you," he said, kissing her hand with the gallantry that only Italian men possess. Lauren had been perfectly happy single, living peacefully in a villa overlooking the vineyards, when Lorenzo entered her life offering exactly what she needed most: tranquility. He constantly complimented her, was kind, attentive, completely in love with her. They traveled the world, laughed together, and Lauren had finally discovered what it was like to be truly loved. "Signore e Signora Benedetti," said the hotel concierge, approaching with reverence, "your suite is ready. The presidential penthouse as requested." "Grazie," Lorenzo replied, sliding a generous tip to the man. They were in Los Angeles for an international wine conference where Lorenzo would be one of the main speakers. Lauren loved accompanying him on these trips, proud to be beside a man so respected in his field. As they walked toward the elevators, Lauren noticed that several people were watching them, some recognizing Lorenzo from business magazines, others simply admiring the stunning couple they made. That's when she saw him. On the other side of the lobby, behind the reception desk, was Eric Hayes. He seemed to have aged 10 years in two. His hair was thinning, he had gained weight, and wore the cheap uniform of a hotel night receptionist. Their eyes met through the sea of people, and Lauren saw the exact moment when recognition hit Eric like lightning. The world seemed to stop for an instant. Eric came out from behind the counter, stumbling slightly, his eyes wide with shock. "Lauren?" His voice came out as a hoarse whisper. Is it you?" Lauren felt Lorenzo tense beside her, his protective instinct immediately activated. She placed a reassuring hand on her husband's arm and turned to face the ghost of her past with a calm that surprised her. "Hi Eric," she said with a soft but firm voice. "It's been a while." Eric looked at her as if he were seeing a ghost. His eyes traveled over Lauren's Italian silk dress, the discreet but expensive jewelry, the confident posture of a woman who had found her place in the world. You are," he stammered, clearly trying to process the transformation before him. "Well?" Lauren completed with a gentle smile. "Yes, I am." That's when Lorenzo approached, placing a protective arm around Lauren's waist. "My love, who is this man?" Lorenzo's Italian accent was music to Lauren's ears, but she saw how it hit Eric like a punch to the stomach. The realization that she had not only moved on, but had found someone who truly loved her. "Lorenzo," Lauren said calmly, "this is Eric, my ex-husband." "Eric, this is my husband, Lorenzo Benedetti." Lorenzo extended his hand with the natural politeness of well-bred men, but his eyes maintained the protective coldness of someone who had heard all the stories about what Eric had done to the woman he loved. "Piacere," Lorenzo said, his voice polite but icy. Eric shook his hand mechanically, still in shock. You got married again?" "Yes," Lauren replied simply. "And you? How is Savannah?" Eric's face contorted with pain. She left me a year ago, when I lost my job at the bank." "I'm sorry," Lauren said, and surprisingly she really meant it. Not pity, but a kind of peace from realizing she no longer felt anger. "Lauren, Eric began, his voice breaking slightly. "I made a terrible mistake. I didn't know. I didn't realize what I was losing until it was too late." Lorenzo moved closer to Lauren, his dark eyes sparking with contained irritation. He clearly didn't like seeing his wife being bothered by this pathetic man. "Eric," Lauren said gently but firmly, "I hope you find happiness. Really. But this." She gestured between them, "This ended a long time ago." "But Lauren, if you gave me a chance to explain, to redeem myself." "No," Lauren interrupted, her voice still calm but with an authority that made Eric back away. "You had 12 years of chances. 12 years to treat me with respect, to value me, to love me the way I deserved. You chose not to do that." Lorenzo watched the exchange with growing admiration for his wife. The strength and dignity with which she handled the situation only confirmed that he had married an extraordinary woman. "I've changed, Lauren," Eric pleaded, his words sounding desperate. "I can be better now." Lauren looked at him for a long moment, and Eric must have seen something in her eyes that made him understand he had really lost everything forever. "I believe you can change, Eric. And I hope you do. But not for me." She paused, choosing her words carefully. "Change for yourself. Change so you can be happy with yourself. Because I—" She looked at Lorenzo, who watched her with unconditional love in his eyes. "I've already found my happiness." Lorenzo smiled, gently kissing Lauren's temple. "Ti amo, amore mio," he murmured. "Anch'io ti amo," she replied, and Eric could see it wasn't just an automatic response, it was true love, the kind of love he had never given her. "Well," Lauren said, turning to Eric one last time, "I hope your life gets better, Eric. Really. But now, if you'll excuse us, we have a suite waiting for us." Lorenzo gallantly extended his arm, and Lauren took it with natural elegance. As they walked toward the elevators, Lorenzo murmured, "You were magnificent, Tesoro." Much kinder than he deserved. "He seems so small," Lauren said thoughtfully. "I used to be so afraid of him, of his anger, of his words. But now—" She shook her head. "Now he's just a sad man who lost something precious because he didn't know how to value it." When the elevator doors closed, Lauren saw Eric for the last time, standing alone in the lobby, watching them literally rise to a place where he could never reach her. In the presidential suite, Lauren approached the window that offered a stunning view of Los Angeles. Lorenzo came from behind, wrapping her in his arms. "Any regrets?" he asked softly. Lauren turned in his arms, looking into the eyes of the man who had taught her what it was like to be truly loved. "Just one," she said. "What?" "That it took me so long to understand that I deserved to be happy." Lorenzo smiled, that smile that had won her heart in a Tuscan winery. "Then let's make up for lost time, see?" And as Lauren kissed her husband on the balcony of the presidential suite, with the lights of Los Angeles shining at their feet, she knew that some stories end exactly as they should, with the right person finding their place in the world and true love triumphing over mediocrity. 40 floors below, Eric Hayes returned to his shift at reception, forever carrying the image of the woman he had lost, now transformed into something he would never be able to reach again. Sometimes the best revenge is simply living well. And Lauren Miller Benedetti was living magnificently.